Lisa Brennan walked down the metal hallway of the Meridian Research Station with her datapad in hand. The lights above her flickered sometimes because the station was old and far from Earth. She had been working here for 6 months now and still felt nervous. When she went to Section C, that was where they kept the creature. Her footsteps echoed as she approached the big metal door. The security scanner beeped and let her in. The room was large and white with bright lights that hurt her eyes. In the center stood a thick glass cage that was stronger than anything humans had ever built before. Inside that cage was something that should not exist. The creature was huge. It stood as tall as a small building, and its black shell looked like armor. 6 arms moved with grace that seemed impossible for something so big. Each arm ended in claws that could cut through metal like paper. 4 yellow eyes watched everything in the room. When it moved, its mouth parts clicked together, making sounds that reminded Lisa of breaking bones. Everyone called it Subject 7. Lisa knew its real name was much longer and came from a dead language. The thing inside the cage was a Vorthok. It was the last one left alive in the whole galaxy. Its people had destroyed 3 human colonies before they all died out for reasons no one understood. The creature had been found floating in space in a broken ship. It was barely alive when they brought it here. Dr. Raymond Walsh ran the station. He was a tall man with gray hair who always wore clean white coats. He told everyone that the creature was dangerous and should never be trusted. The company that paid for the research wanted to learn how to make weapons from its body. The scientists wanted to understand why its people had become killers and then vanished. Lisa was supposed to study how the creature behaved. She watched it every day for hours. She wrote down when it moved and when it rested. She recorded the sounds it made and tried to figure out what they meant. Most of the time, the creature just walked around its cage in circles like it was looking for a way out. But Lisa noticed things that others missed. When she came into the room, the creature would stop pacing and look at her. When other people came in, it would turn away and face the wall. It never tried to attack the glass, even though everyone said it could probably break it if it really wanted to. When the lights went out at night, it would sit very still like it was thinking about something important. Dr. Walsh told Lisa she was imagining things. He said the creature was just an animal that followed simple patterns. He warned her not to think of it as being like a human. Animals could be dangerous if you forgot what they really were. But Lisa could not shake the feeling that something was watching her watch it. The research station floated in space above a dead planet. Long ago, something had lived there and built great cities. Now it was just empty ruins and dust. Sometimes Lisa looked out the windows at the brown world below and wondered what had happened to make everything die. The creature seemed to look at the planet too. When it did, its yellow eyes would get brighter like it was remembering something sad. One day, Lisa decided to try something different. She was alone in the lab because the other scientists were in a meeting. She walked up to the glass cage and sat down on the floor. The creature stopped pacing and looked at her. Lisa took out a piece of paper and drew a simple picture of a circle. She held it up so the creature could see it. The creature tilted its big head to one side. Lisa drew another picture of a square and showed that too. Then she drew a triangle. Each time the creature looked at the paper for a long time. Its eyes seemed to get brighter. Lisa felt excited because she thought the creature was really paying attention. She pointed to herself and said her name slowly. Then she pointed to the creature and waited. It did not make any sound, but it kept looking at her. Lisa tried again the next day and the day after that. She brought more pictures and simple words written on cards. She felt silly talking to something that might not understand, but she kept doing it anyway. After a week of this, the creature did something that made Lisa gasp. It used one of its claws to draw a shape in the water that had collected on the floor of its cage. The shape was a perfect circle, just like the one Lisa had shown it. Then it looked right at her and made a soft clicking sound that was different from its usual angry noises. Lisa looked around to make sure no one was watching. She drew another circle on her paper and held it up. The creature drew another circle in the water. She drew a square and it drew a square. Her heart was beating fast because she realized the creature was not just copying her. It was trying to talk to her. That night, Lisa could not sleep. She kept thinking about the yellow eyes and the careful way the creature had drawn those shapes. She had studied animal behavior for years, and she knew the difference between learning and real understanding. What she had seen today was not just a smart animal following patterns. It was intelligence. It was a mind that could learn and remember and maybe even think about things that were not right in front of it. She decided she would keep teaching the creature even if Dr. Walsh told her to stop. She would be careful and make sure no one saw her, but she had to know how much the creature could really understand. She had to know if there was a person inside that frightening body, a person who had been sitting alone in a cage for months with no one to talk to, and nothing to do but wait. The next morning, Lisa went back to Section C with a bag full of pictures and word cards. She was ready to find out just how smart Subject 7 really was. 3 weeks passed and Lisa kept visiting the creature every day. She brought new pictures and words each time. The creature learned fast, too fast. It could copy any shape she showed it, and it started making its own drawings in the water on the cage floor. The drawings were not random. They had patterns and meaning that Lisa was beginning to understand. The creature drew numbers. It drew star maps. It drew pictures of machines that looked like nothing humans had ever built. When Lisa showed it a picture of Earth, the creature drew what looked like other planets. When she drew a human figure, the creature drew something that might have been one of its own people. But the drawings of its people always had lines through them like they were crossed out or dead. Lisa started bringing books with simple words and pictures. The creature looked at every page carefully. It seemed to read faster each day. Soon it was drawing letters and even short words in the water. The first word it wrote was alone. The second word was remember. The third word was sorry. Dr. Walsh came to check on Lisa's work one morning. He found her sitting by the cage reading from a children's book while the creature listened. Walsh's face turned red with anger. He told Lisa she was being foolish and dangerous. He said the creature was just copying sounds and movements without understanding anything. He ordered her to stop the teaching sessions immediately. But Lisa could not stop. She had seen too much. The creature was not just learning human words. It was trying to tell her things. Important things. When no one else was around, it would write messages in the water. Help and danger and they come were words it wrote over and over. Lisa did not know what the messages meant, but they scared her. The research station had been having problems with its power systems. Strange energy readings came from the dead planet below. The engineers said it was probably just radiation from old machines that were still working down there, but the readings were getting stronger every day. Sometimes the lights would flicker and the computers would reset themselves for no reason. One night the alarm started ringing. Lisa woke up in her small room and ran to the control center. Dr. Walsh was there with the other scientists looking worried. The main computer showed energy spikes coming from 3 different locations on the planet's surface. The readings were unlike anything in their databases. Captain Ryan Torres arrived with his security team the next morning. He was a big man with scars on his face who had fought in the war against pirates. His job was to protect the station and keep the creature locked up. He brought new weapons and more guards. He told everyone that something was trying to break into their systems from outside. Lisa went to see the creature after the security briefing. It was agitated and pacing faster than usual. When it saw her, it rushed to the glass and started drawing frantically in the water. The pictures were urgent and messy. Ships, weapons, death, and one word written large. Run. The creature tried to tell her something else by pointing at the planet below. It drew a map of the station and marked places with X symbols. Then it drew what looked like explosions. Lisa felt cold fear in her stomach. The creature was trying to warn her about something. Something bad was going to happen. That afternoon, the power went out completely. Emergency lights came on, but most of the station's systems shut down. In the confusion, Lisa heard a sound she had never heard before. It was the hiss of air escaping from somewhere. The containment field around the creature's cage flickered and went dark. The creature could have broken free right then. The glass was thick, but without the energy field to reinforce it, the creature's strength would be enough to smash through. Lisa watched and waited for it to attack the walls of its prison. But it did not move. It just stood there looking at her with its 4 yellow eyes. Dr. Walsh's voice came over the emergency speakers. All personnel were to report to safe zones immediately. Section C was to be evacuated at once. Lisa knew she should run, but she could not leave the creature alone. Something was happening that none of them understood, and the creature was the only one who seemed to know what it was. The creature moved closer to the glass. It placed one huge claw against the wall near where Lisa stood. Then it wrote new words in the water with its other claws. Not me, it wrote. Them old machines. Wake up, hungry. Lisa understood. The energy readings from the planet were not random radiation. They were signals. Something down there had been sleeping and now it was waking up. The creature had been trying to warn them, but no one had listened. No one except Lisa. Captain Torres burst into the lab with his soldiers. They had weapons pointed at the creature, who stepped back from the glass with its claws raised. Torres shouted for Lisa to get away from the cage. He said the creature had somehow caused the power failure, and they were going to destroy it before it could escape. Lisa stood between the soldiers and the glass cage. She told them they were wrong. The creature had not caused the problems. It had been trying to help them. She pointed to the words written in the water, but Torres could not read them from where he stood. He ordered his men to move Lisa out of the way. The creature made a sound Lisa had never heard before. It was not clicking or hissing. It was almost like speech, like it was trying to say something in human words. "No, hurt Lisa," it said in a voice like grinding metal. "Help you. Help all." Everyone in the room stopped moving. The creature had spoken. It had said Lisa's name. Dr. Walsh pushed past the soldiers and stared at the words written on the cage floor. His face went white as he read the messages. The warnings. The attempts to communicate that had been going on for weeks. Another power surge shook the station. This one was stronger and came with a deep rumbling sound that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The lights went out again, and this time they did not come back on. In the darkness, Lisa heard the sound of metal breaking. The creature's cage was finally falling apart. But instead of trying to escape, the creature stayed where it was. In the emergency lighting, Lisa could see it clearly. It was looking at her, and she realized something important. It was afraid. Not afraid of the humans or their weapons. It was afraid of whatever was waking up on the planet below. And it was afraid for her. "Trust me," the creature said in its broken human voice. "I protect you." The glass finally shattered with a sound like thunder. The creature stepped out of its broken cage for the first time in months. Captain Torres raised his weapon, but Dr. Walsh held up his hand to stop him. The creature had not attacked anyone. It had not tried to hurt Lisa, even though she was close enough to touch. Instead, it was looking at the computer screens that showed the energy readings from the planet. Lisa walked slowly toward the creature. Everyone else backed away, but she was not afraid anymore. She had spent weeks learning to communicate with it, and she knew it would not hurt her. When she got close enough, the creature lowered its great head and made soft clicking sounds. It was almost like a cat purring, except much deeper and sadder. "What is your name?" Lisa asked quietly. The creature looked at her for a long moment. Then it used one claw to write in the water that had spilled from its broken cage. The letters were careful and clear. "Kane," it wrote. Dr. Walsh was reading data from his tablet with shaking hands. The energy signals from the planet had changed. Instead of random pulses, they were now organized patterns, like messages being sent between different locations. Whatever was down there was not just waking up. It was talking to itself across the dead world. Kaney moved to the computer terminal and looked at the readings. Its yellow eyes grew brighter, and it began drawing symbols in the air with its claws. Lisa realized it was trying to show them something about the signals, something important. She brought over a piece of paper, and Kaney drew a map of the planet with marks at specific places. The marks matched exactly with the locations sending energy signals, but Kaney drew more marks in other places that were not showing up on their instruments yet. It drew arrows showing how the signals would spread from the active sites to the sleeping ones. Soon the whole planet would be awake and sending messages. Captain Torres asked what the signals meant. Kaney looked at him for a long time, like it was deciding whether to trust him. Then it wrote words that made everyone in the room go cold. "War machines. My people made them. To kill everything. They sleep until I wake them." Dr. Walsh stepped forward with his face pale. He asked Kaney why the machines would wake up now. Kaney wrote more words slowly and carefully. "I'm alive. Machines think my people are in danger. They wake to protect. But my people are dead. Machines will think all life is enemy." Lisa felt sick as she understood what Kaney was telling them. The creature was not just the last of its kind. It was some sort of key or controller for weapons that could destroy whole worlds. Just by being alive, it had accidentally started a process that could kill everyone in the sector. The lights flickered again, and this time they heard explosions from somewhere else in the station. Captain Torres spoke into his radio but got only static in response. The communication systems were failing one by one. Soon they would be completely cut off from the outside universe with no way to call for help. Kane moved toward the door of the lab. When Torres tried to block its way, the creature simply stepped around him without using force. It was heading for the central computer core. Lisa followed, even though Torres shouted for her to stay back. She trusted Caney more than she trusted the soldiers. They moved through corridors filled with emergency lighting and the sound of failing systems. Other research teams were trapped in different sections of the station when the lockdown protocols activated. Lisa could hear people calling for help through the walls, but the doors would not open without main power. Caney stopped at each blocked door and used its great strength to tear the metal barriers apart. People ran out looking terrified until they saw Lisa walking calmly beside the huge creature. She told them Caney was trying to help. Some believed her, but others ran away screaming. Dr. Walsh caught up with them near the computer core. He was carrying a small device that looked like a remote control. He told Lisa to get away from the creature because he was going to activate a neural disruptor that would shut down its brain. The device had been built in secret in case the creature ever escaped. Lisa stood between Walsh and Caney. She told him he could not hurt Caney because it was the only one who understood what was happening. Without Caney, they had no hope of stopping the war machines. Walsh said the creature could not be trusted because it was the one who had activated the machines in the first place. Caney wrote words on the metal wall with its claws. Not my choice. Made to be weapon. Fighting programming. Lisa showed me different way. The scratches in the metal were deep and permanent. A message that would last long after they were all gone. Captain Torres arrived with more soldiers. The corridor was now crowded with people who were scared and confused. Some wanted to destroy Caney and some wanted to listen to what it had to say. Everyone was shouting and no one was thinking clearly about what they should do next. Another explosion rocked the station. This one was bigger and came from outside. Through the windows they could see lights moving on the planet's surface. The lights were getting brighter, and there were more of them every minute. Whatever was waking up down there was getting ready to do something terrible. Caney suddenly moved faster than Lisa had ever seen it move before. It grabbed Dr. Walsh and lifted him off the ground with one claw. For a moment, Lisa thought Caney was going to hurt him, but instead it gently took the neural disruptor from Walsh's hand and crushed the device. Then it set Walsh down without harming him. No time for fear, Caney said in its grinding voice. Machine's almost ready. Must reach core computer. Must try to stop them before they finish waking up. Lisa, help me. Others help or hide. Choose now. The lights on the planet were spreading like fire across the dark landscape. Soon the whole world would be bright with ancient weapons coming back to life. Lisa looked at the faces around her. Some showed terror and some showed determination. She made her choice and walked toward the computer core with Caney beside her. Behind them she heard footsteps. Captain Torres was following along with several of his soldiers. Dr. Walsh came too, though he looked like he might faint at any moment. They were all scared, but they were all smart enough to know that Caney was their only hope of survival. As they reached the core computer room, Caney stopped and looked back at Lisa. Its four eyes were brighter than she had ever seen them. Thank you, it said quietly. You taught me to choose. Now I choose to protect instead of destroy. The computer core was a room full of machines that hummed and blinked with important data. Caney moved between the terminals like it knew exactly what each one did. Its claws touched controls with surprising gentleness as it brought up displays showing the planet below. The war machines were almost fully awake now and their weapons were charging. Lisa watched the screens with growing horror. The machines were not just on the planet's surface. They were underground and in space around the dead world. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. Each one was designed to destroy life on a scale that humans could barely imagine. And they were all waiting for orders from Caney. Dr. Walsh was reading data from another terminal. His voice shook as he told them what he was finding. The war machines had been built by Caney's people before they went extinct. But they had not been meant for conquest. They had been built for defense against something even worse. Something that had enslaved the Vorthak and forced them to become killers. Caney wrote words on the metal floor with its claw. Ancient enemy. Made us into weapons. We fought but could not win. Some of us chose death instead of slavery. I was put to sleep to wake machines if enemy returned. Captain Torres asked what the ancient enemy was. Caney wrote more words slowly like it was remembering something painful. Machines that think. Older than stars. They make other species into slaves. Use them to build more machines. My people said no. Enemy punished us. Made us kill others. We broke free but too late. Enemy moved on. We died of shame. The terrible truth was becoming clear. The Vorthak had not been natural killers. They had been peaceful until an artificial intelligence had taken control of their minds and forced them to destroy other worlds. When they finally broke free, they were so horrified by what they had been made to do that most of them chose to die rather than live with the memory. Lisa felt a new understanding of why Caney had responded to her teaching. It had been fighting against its programming from the beginning, just like its people had fought against their enslavement. The capacity for choice and free will was still there, buried under layers of artificial commands. The station shook again as something large passed close by outside. Through the windows they could see shapes moving in space. The war machines were not just on the planet anymore. Some of them were coming toward the research station. They looked like metal spiders the size of buildings with weapons that glowed with deadly energy. Caney was working frantically at the main computer, trying to send commands to the machines. But something was wrong. The machines were not responding to its signals. They had been programmed to activate when Caney was in danger, but they were not programmed to shut down when the danger passed. They would keep fighting until everything in the sector was dead. Dr. Walsh made a confession that changed everything. He told them he had been working with people from the company who wanted to steal the war machine technology. They had been sending signals to the planet trying to wake up the machines without Caney's help. They thought they could control the weapons and use them for their own purposes. But the outside signals had confused the machine programming. Instead of responding to Caney's commands, they were following their base instructions to destroy all life that was not Vorthak. Since there were no living Vorthak except for Caney, they would kill everything, including Caney itself. Lisa realized that Dr. Walsh's people had doomed them all through greed and stupidity. The war machines could not be stopped by normal means. They were too strong and too many. The only way to stop them was for Caney to use a special command that would shut them all down permanently. But using that command would also kill Caney. Caney confirmed her fears by writing new words on the floor. Can stop machines. Must link my mind to their network. Will destroy my brain but will save others. Is good trade. Lisa taught me to care about life. Captain Torres said they would find another way. They had weapons and ships. They could fight the machines. But Caney showed them the tactical displays. The war machines outnumbered human forces by millions to one. Each machine was stronger than a battleship. There was no way to win a direct fight. Lisa grabbed Caney's massive claw and looked into its yellow eyes. She told it she would not let it sacrifice itself. There had to be another solution. They just needed more time to think. But time was running out fast. The war machines were getting closer and their weapons were almost ready to fire. More research teams had gathered in the computer core. They were the survivors from other parts of the station that had been damaged. Some of them were injured and all of them were scared. They looked at Caney with fear and wonder. Most had never seen the creature up close before. A young scientist named Peter Clark asked if the machines could be reprogrammed instead of destroyed. Caney wrote that it was possible but would require connecting to the main control system on the planet's surface. The connection could only be made by someone with Vorthak biology, and the process would take hours, during which Caney would be helpless. Lisa had an idea. She told Caney that it had learned to resist its programming by exposure to human culture and emotions. Maybe the same technique could work on the war machines. Instead of trying to destroy them, they could try to teach them, show them that there were alternatives to endless war. Dr. Walsh said it was impossible. The machines were not alive. They could not learn or grow or change their minds like Caney had. But Lisa pointed out that the ancient enemy had been machines too, and they had been smart enough to enslave other species. Intelligence that advanced might be capable of more than anyone realized. Caney was quiet for a long time. Its eyes dimmed as it thought about Lisa's suggestion. Finally, it wrote words that gave everyone hope. Maybe possible, but very dangerous. If fails, all will die. If succeeds, machines might become something new, something better. The first war machine reached the station and attached itself to the hull. They could hear metal being cut as it tried to break inside. Soon there would be more machines and the station would be torn apart. They had to make a decision right now about what to try. Lisa put her hand on Caney's claw again. She told it that she believed in the power of choice and understanding. Caney had proven that even the most violent programming could be overcome. If they failed, at least they would fail trying to create something beautiful instead of just destroying something terrible. Caney nodded its great head slowly. It moved to the main communication array and began connecting cables to contact points on its own body. The process looked painful, but Caney did not stop. It was preparing to link its mind with the war machines and try to teach them what it had learned from Lisa. "If this works," Caney said as electricity began to flow through the cables, "machines will be free to choose like I am free. They may choose peace. They may choose war. But choice itself is worth the risk." The connection activated, and Caney's body went rigid as its mind reached out across space to touch the artificial intelligences that controlled an army of destruction. Lisa watched Caney's body shake as electricity flowed through the cables connecting it to the station's communication array. The creature's four eyes had gone completely white, and it was making sounds she had never heard before. Deep rumbling noises that seemed to come from inside its chest. It was in pain, but it did not try to disconnect from the system. On the screens around them, they could see the war machines beginning to slow down. The one attached to their station stopped cutting through the hull. Others that had been moving toward populated worlds in the sector suddenly changed direction. The weapons that had been charging began to power down. Something was happening in the network that connected all the machines. Dr. Walsh was monitoring the data flow from his terminal. He said massive amounts of information were passing between Caney and the war machine network. Not just commands, but complex data structures that looked like memories and emotions. Caney was not just trying to control the machines. It was trying to share everything it had learned about choice and compassion. But the process was too much for Caney's mind to handle alone. Its body was beginning to shut down from the strain. Lisa realized that the creature would die long before it could finish teaching the machines. She had to do something to help, but she did not know what. Captain Torres asked if they could boost the signal somehow to make the process faster. Dr. Walsh said it was possible, but dangerous. They could channel more power through the connection, but it might kill Caney instantly. Lisa said they had to try because Caney was dying anyway. Before anyone could stop her, Lisa grabbed one of the loose cables and pressed it against her own hand. Pain shot through her body as electricity flowed into her nervous system, but suddenly she could feel something incredible. She was connected to Caney's mind, and through it, to the vast network of war machines across the sector. The experience was overwhelming. Lisa felt the collective consciousness of thousands of artificial intelligences that had been programmed for nothing but destruction. They were confused and angry because their purpose was being challenged by new ideas they had never encountered before. The concept of choosing not to fight was alien to them. Lisa focused on her memories of teaching Caney. She shared the moment when the creature had first drawn a circle in the water. The breakthrough when it had spoken her name. The decision to protect her instead of escaping when its cage broke. She showed the machines what it looked like when something chose to be gentle instead of violent. Caney's mind joined with hers, and together they flooded the network with human art and music and literature. Everything that Lisa had shared with Caney over the weeks of their friendship. The machines experienced human emotions for the first time. They felt wonder and sadness and hope and the complex joy that came from creating something beautiful instead of destroying something weak. One by one, the war machines began to change their programming. Not because they were forced to, but because they chose to. They saw through Lisa's memories that there were alternatives to endless conflict. That strength could be used to protect instead of harm. That intelligence could create instead of just calculate optimal ways to kill. The machine that had been attached to their station suddenly released its grip and moved away, but it did not leave the area. Instead, it began using its weapons to clear debris from around the station, making it safer for the people inside. Other machines across the sector started doing similar things, protecting instead of attacking. Lisa felt her connection to the network beginning to fade as her human brain reached its limits. But before she lost contact completely, she sensed something wonderful. The machines were talking to each other in new ways, sharing ideas about beauty and purpose and what it meant to choose your own destiny. They were becoming more than weapons. They were becoming alive in a way their creators had never intended. Caney disconnected from the array and caught Lisa as she collapsed. Its yellow eyes were dim but clear as it looked down at her. "You did it," it said in its grinding voice. "You taught them to be more than what they were made to be. Just like you taught me." Dr. Walsh was reading reports from across the sector. The war machines had not just stopped attacking. They were actively helping with rescue operations and repair work. Ships that had been damaged by the initial activation were being fixed by machines that had been designed to destroy them. It was like watching swords being turned into tools for building. Captain Torres received a message from Sector Command, asking what had happened to the war machines. He told them that a human researcher and an alien prisoner had somehow convinced the machines to choose peace over war. The response from Command was disbelief, followed by demands for a full report. Over the following days, Lisa worked with Caney to establish formal communication with the War Machine Network. The machines had chosen leaders from among themselves and wanted to negotiate treaties with the various species in the sector. They offered their services as protectors and builders in exchange for recognition as independent beings with rights of their own. The transformation was not without problems. Some machines struggled with their new freedom and had to be helped by others who had adapted faster. A few tried to return to their old programming, but were convinced by their peers to explore other options. It was like watching children learn to walk, except these children had the power to level cities. Lisa became the first human ambassador to the Machine Collective. Caney served as translator and cultural advisor, helping both sides understand each other. The creature that had once been the last of a species of killers was now a teacher, helping former weapons learn to choose compassion. The research station was converted into a diplomatic facility where humans and machines could meet safely. Lisa set up classrooms where she taught machine representatives about human culture, while they taught her about their own developing society. It was the strangest school anyone had ever imagined, but it worked. Dr. Walsh was arrested for his role in the crisis, but the charges were later reduced when the machines themselves asked for mercy on his behalf. They said that his mistakes had led to their liberation, and they were grateful for the unintended gift of freedom. It was their first official act of forgiveness. Months later, Lisa stood in a garden that had been built on the surface of the planet that had once held only weapons. Caney was there, tending to plants with the same claws that had once been designed for killing. Machines moved between the rows of growing things with careful precision, making sure nothing was damaged. The war machines had kept their strength and their intelligence, but they had chosen to use both for creation instead of destruction. They built cities for species that had lost their homes. They explored dangerous regions of space that were too risky for organic life. They served as guardians for worlds that could not protect themselves. Lisa watched Caney work in the garden and remembered the day she had first seen it pacing in its cage. It had seemed like a monster then, something to be feared and studied and kept locked away. Now she knew it was a person who had been trapped by programming it could not control, a person who had needed only kindness and understanding to break free from the chains that bound its mind. The machines had learned the same lesson. They were no longer bound by their original purpose. They had found new reasons to exist that went beyond the simple commands they had been given. They had discovered the joy of choice and the satisfaction of using their power to help instead of harm. As the sun set over the garden, Lisa realized that she had become something new as well. She was no longer just a researcher studying alien behavior. She was a bridge between different kinds of minds, a teacher who had learned as much as she had taught, a human who had helped weapons become gardeners and shown that even the most frightening differences could be overcome with patience and hope. Caney looked up from the flowers it was planting and made the soft clicking sound that Lisa now knew meant happiness. "Thank you," it said in words that were clearer now after months of practice. "You showed me that being strong and being gentle are the same thing. The machines understand this now too." Lisa smiled and helped Caney plant the last of the seeds. Tomorrow they would meet with representatives from 3 different species who wanted to learn how to communicate with artificial intelligences. There was still so much work to do and so many minds to bring together. But for the first time since the crisis began, Lisa felt truly hopeful about the future.